Have you ever noticed that when you start to genuinely change, the people around you seem to become uncomfortable? It doesn't always come out in the open. It often hides behind jokes, advice that's disguised as concern, or that awkward silence when you try to talk about something deeper. But deep down, what's really happening is simple. Your mental evolution is threatening their comfort zone. And let's be real, no one likes to be forced to confront their own complacency. The moment you begin to shift your thinking, to question what you once accepted without a second thought, and to act in ways that challenge the status quo, the people around you begin to feel uneasy. Maybe this is something you're experiencing right now. You've started to think differently, to act differently, and maybe even to question things you once took for granted. Suddenly you feel alone, misunderstood, judged. What no one tells you, but what nature understood long before anyone else, is that this is the price of building a truly strong mind. Not just any kind of strength, but a strength so real, so intense, that it makes others uncomfortable. It scares them. It exposes, without saying a word, the weaknesses of those who continue to live on autopilot, avoiding any self-reflection. But why does this happen? Why does a powerful mind unsettle others so deeply? The answer is simple. Because a truly powerful mind is a threat to collective mediocrity. When you decide to think for yourself, to create your own values, to abandon the comforting illusion of ready-made truths, you become dangerous. Dangerous to the system, dangerous to others, and most importantly, dangerous to your former self. This is not a call to arms or a cry for rebellion. This video is a challenge for those who are no longer satisfied with their current state, who are tired of being imprisoned by their own insecurities. It's for those of you who feel on the edge of an internal rupture, who are ready to build something so solid that no one can destroy it, a mind that no one can manipulate, a mind that terrifies because it does not bend. So if you feel ready for this path, a lonely, tough, but ultimately transformative path, stay. What nature has to teach you will confront you, but it can also set you free. And after this, you will never think the same way again. Friedrich Nietzsche was not just a philosopher, he was a surgeon of the human soul, someone who had the courage to look into the abyss of existence and not only face it, but dive into it. It's precisely in that abyss, in that chaos that many avoid, that he found the source of true strength. For nature, it is not in peace, stability, or order that a human being transforms. It is in pain. It is in the fall. It is in chaos. He wrote, "You need to have a chaos inside you to give birth to a dancing star." This is not just some poetic metaphor. It's a psychological diagnosis. It means that if you want to build an unshakable mind, you need to abandon the childish idea that it will happen through comfort, cheap motivation, or positive affirmations. No. True strength is born when you face suffering head-on, without fleeing. When you stop asking life to be easier and start wishing to be stronger. Think about the times you grew the most. Was it when everything was going well? Or was it when you were shattered, lost, directionless, having to rebuild yourself with your own hands? Nietzsche believed that suffering was not a mistake of existence, but its main driving force. He didn't romanticize pain. He faced it as a tool for growth. If you can change your relationship with pain, with failure, with loneliness, you begin to shape something rare, an indomitable spirit. And that's where the world begins to take notice. Because while most people flee from chaos, you will learn to walk within it. While others beg for normality, you will create greatness. But this transformation requires a brutal break with everything you've been taught about strength. Being strong is not about smiling all the time. It's not about having fake emotional control. Being strong is about enduring the unbearable and coming out on the other side even more dangerous. But nature knew that chaos alone is not enough. You can be destroyed by it if you don't have an inner center, an anchor. That's why in the next part, we'll talk about the most decisive moment in Nietzsche's philosophy, when he kills God and places upon you the full weight of existential responsibility. When there is no longer a higher power to look up to, it's within you that the universe needs to be born. If this content is resonating with you, click the subscribe button and stay with us. Thank you for your support. When Nietzsche declared, "God is dead," he wasn't celebrating. He was issuing a warning that many still do not understand today. What he killed wasn't a divine figure, but the illusion that there is a higher authority taking care of everything. The illusion that there is a plan, a pre-established meaning, a purpose handed down by some external force. The death of God marks the end of any excuse. It's frightening because up until that point, it was easy to outsource the responsibility for your life. It was comforting to believe that everything has a reason, that suffering is part of some divine plan, that there's a greater good that will justify everything in the end. But Nietzsche violently tears away this veil and looks you in the face, saying, "You are alone. There is no ready-made meaning. Now, you are the creator." And this is where the true construction of a powerful mind begins. Because most people collapse when they realize they are alone in the face of chaos, without a manual, without guarantees, with no one to blame but themselves. But those who have the courage to face this reality without crumbling begin to forge an unshakable consciousness. With the death of God, nature pushes you into the abyss of radical freedom. You should not follow commandments. You must create your values. You should not obey. You must surpass yourself. It's the birth of brutal autonomy, and with it comes the weight. Everything now depends on you. There is no more absolution. There is no more salvation. Either you build yourself, or you sink. But here's the secret. This freedom that frightens you is also the greatest source of power you can have. When you understand that no one is coming to save you, something inside you awakens. A fire that compels you to rise, even while bleeding. It forces you to think for yourself, to feel for yourself, to act. Not because someone told you it's right, but because you decided it is. It is in this rupture with existential crutches that nature prepares the ground for something even more grandiose. The emergence of a new way of being. A type of human who does not live according to the rules of the herd, who does not need approval or permission. A being who creates their own morality, who surpasses their own limits, and lives as a creator. This being, Nietzsche called the Übermensch, the overman. And it's about this figure that we'll talk now, because if you want to build a mind so strong that no one can break it, you need to understand how to become this being who lives above conventions, guided only by their own will to power. Nietzsche did not believe in the slow and passive evolution of humanity. He believed in rupture, radical transformation, creative destruction. That's why he conceived the idea of the Übermensch. It's not about being a superhero. It's not about having mystical powers. The Übermensch is a being who has overcome everything that binds the ordinary man. Guilt, obedience, herd morality, the need for acceptance. The Übermensch does not seek to be accepted. He does not ask for permission to exist. He creates his own internal laws and lives by them, even if that puts him against the entire world. And that is why his mind becomes unbreakable. It is not built on the expectations of others. It does not need external approval to validate itself. It is self-sufficient. It feeds on its own will to power, the deep impulse to shape reality in its own image. The Übermensch does not adapt to the world. He imposes meaning on the world. He does not seek comfort. He seeks greatness. He does not ask, "Is this allowed?" He asks, "Is this worthy of me?" And this shift in perspective changes everything. But here lies the problem. Becoming this kind of being requires sacrifice. You will have to kill parts of yourself that still beg for approval. You will have to face the pain of not belonging. You will have to bear the weight of building your identity from scratch, without guarantees, without applause, without any comfort from others. And most people cannot handle it. They give up before they start. They run back to the safety of ready-made beliefs, dogmas, and rules that someone else wrote for them. The path to becoming the Übermensch is a lonely one, and nature knew this. Nietzsche himself lived on the margins, misunderstood, called mad, isolated from the very world he was trying to liberate. But it was in that isolation that he found his freedom. And this is what you need to understand: the true nature of freedom and power. It comes from standing alone, from choosing to walk a path no one else dares to take, from creating a self that no one can take from you. This is the true power of the Übermensch. This is the power you can cultivate.